feeding on their own kind has been seen in myths and legends from time immemorial. The modern image of the vampire as pale, bloodthirsty, and having fangs has gotten a long way from the concept which appears in numerous legends. In reality, the first vampires were not bloodsuckers at all. As far back as 4000 BCE, the angry Babylonian Ikimu is described, the ghost of the recently departed that sucked the vitality from those left behind. The idea that the blood-drinking vampires of contemporary mythology did not appear until the late 17th century was held throughout most of the globe. Following news that the feared villager Jur Grando had risen from the grave to terrify his neighbors, widespread panic swept the village of Kringa, Croatia in 1672. His many acts included proclaiming the inevitability of death and consuming blood. When his 16-year-old body was exhumed, he was placed in a coffin by beheading. An outbreak of panic attacks comparable to the European scares that took place in the 18th century was common during that period, and the term vampire had its first use in the English language in 1734. Many traditional vampires had similar features, such as a reddish color, the aptitude to polymorph, a hatred of holy land or artifacts sanctified with religion, and a compulsion to attack their prey's living relatives. Becoming a vampire is usually the result of being bitten by a vampire, however some people commit suicide, while in Slavic tradition, witches and recently deceased individuals also go on to become vampires. For two of the most popular methods of slaying a vampire, you used stakes fashioned from oak, aspen, or ash to sever the head. To protect against vampirism, ensure that corpses be buried in a headfirst position. Although widely believed, sunlight does not cause vampires to die. Instead, it weakens and disables them. This is most apparent in historical cases when a vampire casts a shadow and reflects the light. Fanged canine teeth have also been introduced more recently. In the 19th century, people in New England blamed tuberculosis on the deceased emptying the vitality of their relatives who had already died by feeding on the victims' families in the tomb. In the 1820s, John Polidori popularized the modern concept of the vampire with his 1819 book, The Vampire, and soon after Bram Stoker popularized the myth in his famous 1897 novel, Dracula. Both works helped contribute to the enduring fascination that we continue to have with vampires today. Would you be frightened if you caught the eye of a vampire? Be careful to sprinkle sands or poppy seeds nearby which you or so the vampires will count every single grain or seed. Doing so will keep you unharmed and ensure the vampire counts every single one.